Conflict has always been one of the most consistent aspects of organic existence. It can be observed through all aspects of life. By psychologists, the meticulous and complex observation of this process is prevalent in human interaction. Conflicts can be identified through minor infractions or even catastrophe events. It ranges from minor disputes of the shared experience of food theft and even historical calamities of world wars. Either ways, conflicts seem to be innate component of existence, which is why conflict resolution is essential to establish a functional social construct and, in our field, a functional work environment. Today, I'll provide a personal experience in conflict and conflict resolution that can significantly influence our ability to identify and resolve social issues. So in this case, I'll be using my new shared experience of parenting. I do have a newborn son, which I've been talking about a lot, and we'll be using that example and how time management and, well, balancing our time and responsibilities impact our interaction as a family. And this is why I'm doing this outside, so do not tell my wife. This is stay between us. So first, let's look at the situation and the problem. The problem comes from the fact that I've been trying to find time to balance studying, helping my wife, cooking, and house chores. But at the same time, we need to communicate, since it is a rough process of actually transitioning and actually balancing these times. And how can my wife help me? And how can I help her? Especially during the times where I am studying and during the time when, well, my child needs attention. So, looking at the steps, we're going to solve this issue. Conflict resolution skills. 1, quickly relieve stress. It is essential to quickly relieve stress, but in a positive way. In my case, what I do to relieve stress is I listen to music. Music makes everything better. But even then, you gotta understand, which is the second step, you gotta recognize and manage your emotions. Listening to music while you're frustrated might help, yes. But if you don't recognize that you're frustrated in the first place, what will listening to music do for you? So understand that it's cues and actually stimulus and, well, conditioning yourself. So then we move on to the next step, which is improve your non-verbal communication, which is something that we both need to work on because, well, unfortunately, I can mask my verbal emotions or my frustrations, but I do have a face that says, I'm very frustrated. But we work on that mostly, is to understand that, you know, while it's also kind of, well, in this case, it would be also a understandable emotion, you must also understand that being frustrated is okay. So then we move to the next step. Use humor and play to deal with challenges. Humor is the best diffusion of emotional and tense situations. Yes, and most of the times I do that with making the jokes about my baby's head. We love our baby, but when he was coming out, the doctor pulled his head very hard, and whenever we mention that or we talk about it, it is a situation where my wife and I, well, fiance and I, would feel very, very, nostalgic. In that moment, we release all emotion and it just turns to a funny situation. Or in a case where, my wife will call me in the middle of me perhaps doing a video outside, I would run and trip and fall, which is not purpose, but it's still humorous. And that time it just relieves it and we'll laugh it off and see it as more of a funny or a humorous situation. So moving on to tips. First, you must make the relationship a priority. Although my work and my education is important to me and is a critical aspect of my development and my career, I do prioritize my relationship with my wife and my child. So therefore, I would always recognize that I would not want any disruption or any negative emotions to interfere with that. Then you must improve your nonverbal communication, hugs, kisses in this case, which is, well, more of a intimate aspect. In a work aspect, you probably just, help out in certain terms or remind your coworker of certain things that they might need, and focus on the present. Now is the moment, later is the regret. So always remember, whatever you do now will impact later. So, enjoy that time and try to not think about it too much. Pick your battles. Like, for example, I would not do this presentation in front of my wife, but I would do it outside, and then I would address the situation and find a way, different terms to address it. So in the case of me studying and my child is crying, I would definitely run to my child. That is not something we battle against because obviously it's priority. So these two actually collapse together. Next, we focus on being willing to forgive. There will be time when you realize that, although the individual is doing these things, it's not their fault. And you have to be willing to forgive because there has been instances where you yourself have caused any kind of, problem or any kind of disruption. And in that term, that individual may have helped you, and even if it's inconvenient to them. So forgiveness is being able to be empathetic and also receiving and reciprocating that same emotion. Moving on to the next, we have about, expressing your feelings in words and not actions. You do not want to slam a door because that is an act of aggression, which may be responding to aggression. Now, as the psychologist and as a responsible one, somebody has to take the step. If I slam the door, she slammed the door, we're just slamming doors. The result is not very well. But if we sit down, we talk to each other while the baby's sleeping or while he's awake, because babies don't really understand anything, but I think they understand emotion to a certain extent. But in that term, you communicate. Words are better than, actions in that term, especially in expressing yourself and diffusing. So next is be specific about what's bothering you. Is it really what they've done in that moment, or is it the general action? You have to learn how to verbalize that and also talk about the specifics. In my term, it's not necessarily my wife needing my help. It's my wife interrupting the zone in moment. There's a moment in time when you're actually studying and you actually have this chain reaction of just information clicking together. Well, in certain instances, when that get disrupted, it's hard to get back in that trend, or you must not have time. So scheduling and managing that schedule may be disruptive, but at the same time, you have to, address that specific issue rather than her asking for help. That's actually what we've been communicating and talking about. So there's no heating below the belt. Do not actually make your partner feel bad about what they're doing, needing your help, or making them feel as though it's something else that they feel sensitive about. Communicate. I feel as though this is about me and how I feel and how you can help me and how we can help each other. So that is essential. Now, avoid accusations, because if you're saying it's all their fault, then you're actually making it seem like it's their responsibility, and it's not a two-way street. Because remember, conflict consists of two individuals, and you could always improve each other. That is definitely an aspect that you need to establish and embody. So next, we look at the fact that you don't generalize it, which is actually correlating with what we said previously about about being specific. And then we have the avoid the make-believe and don't stockpile and avoid clamping it up. Do not make these issues specifically about just a stack pile and a bunch of accumulating feelings that may not actually even correlate with each other, may actually be connected to just one aspect of the situation. So be sure to communicate that, talk to each other about it, and be more empathetic. You may set guidelines, set rules, and you may even set schedules so that it may function. For me and my wife, we set a schedule this morning, and it's actually my time. I have about 3 to 4 minutes before this is over, so I'll get back to it. You're probably hearing my child right now. So goodbye. It was nice talking to you guys, and if you have any suggestions, let me know. Bye.